Welcome all. We're so excited to have you. I'll kick things off here. My name is Hong Lin, and I'm part of the Careers and Professional Development team here at WGU. We're so excited to have our friends here from Commerce Bank, always joining us with a great topic each month. Today, they'll be covering emergency savings, which is a very important topic in building financial security, no matter where you're at in your personal journey. So we're excited to have our friends Stacy, Cassandra's here. I saw Ashley as well. So welcome, Commerce Bank team. Thank you so much for being here with us. I know you have a ton of great information as you always do. They'll tell us a little bit about my milestone as well and share all the important links and resources so that you can follow along. At the end here, we'll have dedicated Q&A time. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them in the chat or share them here at the end once we open it up for questions. And then the chat feature is open as well, so feel free to drop any questions that might come to mind. They always do a great job keeping the session engaged as well, so feel free to drop comments in there. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to our friends at Commerce Bank.
Thank you so much, Hong. We always love being with the WGU community. I am so thrilled to be here again. We are really fortunate that WGU is so great about giving us a monthly opportunity to have these workshops with y'all and give you just a deeper dive into additional education. And I'm just really excited because I get to have Cassandra and Ashley on today. Cassandra's going to be managing that chat as well as dropping links. Pardon me. And I want to make sure that I just encourage you guys again, just what Hong said, we really want you to engage and be involved today. So we want to look for reactions and dropping answers and questions into the chat because we really want to get you all the information and get you the resources today about emergency funds. And we always follow up with Hong afterwards. And she does such a great job of posting everything out on your YouTube channel and your handshake. So be looking for that as well. So today we're going to jump into setting up an emergency fund, and it's really based on like when that disaster strikes, in your life, all the unpredictable things that you just can't foresee. And really with emergency fund savings, if you are a seasoned saver or someone that's new to the game, it's important for both sides of that. And you can really learn a lot from courses like this. So we want to get started by, first of all, talking a little bit about the My Milestones platform and why this is important to you all. This, if you are new, we want to make sure that you all know a little bit more about this. Hong mentioned that we cover this portion of this topic is because this is the platform that's going to drive all the education and resources that we give to you today. And it is free to you. It is free to your family. And we love the titling because My Milestones really talks about, where you are in your financial journey. You have milestones that you're going through each part of the season of your life. So it's like a perfect titling. So My Milestones is your financial wellness resource, and it's where you're going to really be able to dig deep and get some more information to all of these questions and things that are top stressors in mind. We want to talk about why financial wellness is so important. When you think about your health, typically you think about your mental health and your physical health, but you don't attribute into that your financial health. And your financial health really is what drives some of those physical and mental ailments. So once you get control over your financial stress and really have a path for that, you obviously see that your mental health gets better. You're not distracted as much. Your physical health can be repaired as well because you're not stressed as much. So that is why financial wellness is super important. Obviously, course topic today, setting up an emergency fund. We always have a call to action because with this knowledge today, we want you to action it. These little bite-sized steps are what's going to make a really big impact in your financial health. And then we always have time for Q&A, like Hong said. So we want to talk a little bit about personal finance journey. Wherever you are is where My Milestones is going to meet you. So if you are completely new to like banking and you just don't even know where to start, or you're in the middle of trying to pay off student loans, or maybe you're graduating from college and you're looking for a career and maybe how to start a budget and rent housing or buy housing, or maybe you're nearing retirement, which awesome. The platform is going to meet you everywhere you are because everybody in that season is going to have a much different path ahead of them, and they're going to have a lot of different questions that don't necessarily align with each other. So it's really a seasonable thing, and it fits you where you are. The next part of the platform is that it's going to give you the ability to really just explore and find some savvy goal making tips and tricks so that you can get those things in order to reach your financial goals. It's going to uncover some things, and it's going to measure your financial stress, which is really a neat tool on there that we'll talk about a little bit later. The compliancy part just lets you know that everything is firewalled. We don't share any information. It's not going to be like when you're in here looking at my milestones, where you'll see what you've been looking for on my milestones will populate in your social media feed later on. It will not. It stays all inside of there. So it's very protected and secure. So one of the questions we like to ask, and this is where we want to see you guys participating, okay? How much should you have in an emergency savings fund? So put this into the chat. Are you going to do 1 month of expenses,
3 months,
3 to 6 months,
3,
6 to 9 months, or 12 months?
3.
So pop that into the chat. A, B, C, or D. Awesome. We're getting some good engagement. I love it. All right. We're going to do the reveal. 3 to 6 months. So we're going to have homework today based on this. So keep this in mind. Preparing for 3 to 6 months of expenses is what experts say that is often recommended. And we're going to show some real-time things that are going to really be ahas, like, oh, now I see why that's important. So right now, if you are returning to my milestones, just go ahead and log in. If you're new to my milestones, this is where we want to get you logged in today. We've got to get you signed up because this is where we're going to drive content. I'm going to have you favorite content. You just scan that QR code if you're on a mobile device, or you can do the wgu.mymilestones.com, and that will take you straight in as well. And while y'all are doing that, I'm going to give you a few minutes. If anybody has any trouble getting signed on or signed up, please chat Cassandra or Ash. Either one of them can help you navigate and get signed on there. And I'm going to go ahead and pivot to that screen. And this is what your screen will look like to begin with before you log in or sign up. And you can see up here that WGU has customized this site for you all, and it's incredible what they have done, Hong and her team. They've also made it available for you to join Handshake right here within the site, which is super cool. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the sign up format will look like. It's super simple. All you're going to do is your name, email. That email can be your private or personal email, or it can be your WGU email. You can do your password. You're going to create one. It needs to be 8 characters long. You're going to have an upper lowercase letter, a number, and some sort of special character. And then these two boxes would need to be checked. This is about that privacy policy that we're not sharing any information. The last box is just if you'd like to receive emails, and if you would, you're welcome to check that box, but you can also unsubscribe anytime. And then you'll just sign up. I'm going to log in because I've already created my login. And once you get to your main page, if this is your first time signing up, you're going to be greeted with a pop-up box that's going to ask you to take a financial wellness quiz. And at this point, I want you guys to just set this aside because even though it's a 5-minute quiz and it's super important that you take it at some point, we want to dive in today for what we're going to cover because the emergency savings is what we really want to focus on. And I'm going to unpack a lot of information for you today, and it's probably going to feel fast and furious and maybe a little overwhelming. But I do want to reassure you that not only do we provide the recording back to Hong, like we talked about for her to put on Handshake and YouTube, but we also provide you with a quick reference guide with all the links that we're going to be covering today that will help you get to the places you need to get. So I supply that as well, and Hong pushes that out to you also. You'll have some additional pieces that you can go back and revisit. So when that pop-up box appears, go ahead and just click out of it and skip that for now. When you do get an opportunity to take that, it is going to uncover everything that's important to you financially. And then it will partner with this purple tab, that Get Recommendations tab. And together, those two will customize the platform to give you information and content the way that you are wanting and what you're interested in right now. You can go back and take that financial wellness quiz at another time after things have changed in your life and you've maybe gotten a hold of, let's say you're focusing on budgeting and now you're good with budgeting and you want to move on to maybe repaying student loans. So you can go back and retake that quiz to make the platform customized to you. However, you always have access to everything in the topics tab. And it has the popular topics, but it also does see all topics. And that is a very robust list, and it's an A through Z list. The additional part of that is it gives you ways to learn. As a former educator, I know that everyone does not learn in the same way. So I love this piece of the platform because it gives you the ability that you're going to learn. If you are better at physical interactive tools, you've got that available. If you prefer articles, infographics, I love infographics as well. I guess it's because I love coloring. So I like the differences of colors and showing me that kind of stuff. Webinars and more. So you can explore all of this. And the additional part of that is the mindfulness. You have the ability to go in and do meditations. Some of them are money driven and some of them are just regular meditations that are just going to help you have some peace. They're anywhere between 5 and 20 minutes. You also have a personality quiz, which I'll talk to you about that throughout this course today because it plays a very important role. The journaling piece is great because this is where it's not the typical kind of journaling that you're thinking. Probably it's a financial journaling tool. And what it does is it allows you to maybe keep track of things like car repairs, home repairs, maybe medical bills, things that have happened in different times of the year, the month, and you can just put it in there instead of going back and trying to revisit your statement. And this helps me navigate a little bit, especially with vehicles. Maybe if I've spent several, thousands of dollars on repairs, maybe it's time for me to go and look for a new vehicle because now I can go to that journaling and see, oh, in the last 6 months, I've spent this much on car repairs. So it's just a quick reference tool. And I want to point out that once you have something like written down or out of your head, then it's not distracting you all the time. So that's another component to lowering your financial stress. The stress score itself is going to allow you to see where you lie in your stress levels, if you're low, medium, or high. And as you interact with the platform, you should see that stress score roll down. And it's pretty exciting to see. Lastly, I want to show you our little friend, the search icon. This is going to be something that we're going to use throughout the course, and I'm going to have you favorite content. Favoriting content is going to give you like a little tab down here where everything will live all together. So I've already favorited a bunch of things. So you can see under my favorites tab, everything is held here. And you will do this by simply clicking this heart when we're in the content, and it'll automatically put it there for you. So back to the dashboard. The last couple of tabs I want you to take a look at is discovering your money personality, which we'll cover in the course today. The last one is setting your street goal. This is just simply a way to have an accountability piece and say, I'm going to interact with the platform monthly, weekly, daily. I'm going to go weekly. And what that'll do is it's going to start generating what we call experience points. And you see those generating up here. Additionally, you'll see them up here, and we call them sprouts because you're growing knowledge, which I kind of love that. You'll see the results of that over here in the sweepstakes tab. And this is super cool. This is where you get that gamification with the platform. So I always tell people, replace 10 minutes of your doom scrolling with 10 minutes of your My Milestones. And start building your sprouts, because with all of your sprouts, you get entries into a $1,000 prize pool sweepstakes monthly. And a great tip about this is that you could store up your sprouts and say you get 500 sprouts. then you have 25 entries and you can put those all in the same month. You don't have to do them each month. You can just store them up and use them in the 1 month, which would substantially increase your odds of winning, of course. So that kind of gives you a broad overview of my milestones and how cool it is. Again, I want to say it's free to you all and your family. So get everybody on here. They don't have to live under the same roof with you to have take advantage of this. So, you got a brother, sister, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, whatever, aunt, uncle, have them hop on here and take advantage of this. So today we are going to take a look at the topics of emergency fund. So we're just going to click on that. So go up to your topics tab, click on emergency fund, and that is going to populate a lot of content that we have available for this specific topic. Now, when we do this, we start to scroll down and see that it's going to give you all of these options, right? You've got a lot of content here. And I've already started to favorite some things. So once you've clicked on that link and Cassandra's dropped in there, you can also do the icon search and type in emergency savings. And I'll just show you that right quick. So any of those options, you can either go to the emergency fund or type in emergency savings. And that is going to start queuing up all of this content for you. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and start favoriting anything that you see in here that is looking interesting to you. And remember, all you got to do is just click on that. Okay, but I'm going to have some specific things that you can favorite as well. So the course that we're going to be studying today is setting up an emergency fund. So I want you to click on that. You're not going to take it right now because I'm going to hit the high point. So all I want you to do is favorite that. Okay, just click the heart and then go back. Either click your arrow back so you can go back to the emergency savings, or go to topics and click on your emergency fund, whichever you prefer. Okay, so we're going to drill down here a little bit. Once you're on one of these pages, you're going to find Emergency Funds 101. And that one is, how big should your fund be? Thank you, CK. She's dropping all my stuff in here, even though it's out of order on her sheet. We're going to drop in DIY budget. Why not having an emergency fund is a real emergency. I want you to favorite that content. Okay, now we're going to go up to the search icon and we are going to type in the number 50. That is going to populate the 50, 30, 20 budget rule. Favorite that. CK's dropping those in for y'all. We're going to do money personality. And again, if anybody's having trouble hanging with us, I know I'm dumping a lot of information quickly. Remember, I'm going to send this out later so you can do it then as well. So don't feel rushed. All right, money personality. Go ahead and heart that. Let's go ahead and type in survival. Scroll down here. When money is tight, a survival budget. Let's do, it all starts with a plan. Right here. That cute little coffee cup, go get them. Love that. Love a good coffee cup. Let's do how to save $100. We'll see if the dollar sign helps it populate any faster. There we go. Okay. Right here, how to save $100 a week on an entry-level salary, which maybe y'all are past that. Maybe you're returning to school, so that's not really something that applies to you. But I do think that there's some interesting tips there, so that's why I like that one. And then the last one is we're going to be doing a realistic timeline for saving emergency. Because I think that sometimes we feel overwhelmed with, oh, I've got to have this set up. But, what's a realistic thing? So you don't feel like you've set yourself up for failure, because maybe you feel like you've got to have this right now. And yes, that would be great. But in reality, what can we really, really do? What does that timeline really look like for us? Let's see here. We can do this one for the 6 month. Let's do that one. That's a good one. And she's already clicked in there, so it might even be a different one that I saved, but I'm going to take a look and see. Let's see what it populates. Okay, it was the same one. Perfect. All right. So for now, that is all the content that I want you to favorite. Okay. And we're going to go back, and I'm just going to go to my dashboard, and then I'm going to go down to my favorites. And the first thing I'm going to start with today is talking about the 50-30-20 rule, because when you're starting to build an emergency fund, you first need to understand the foundation of how you need to allocate your income, your funds in general. So the 50-30-20 rule is 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings. Now, I want to just kind of add a little tidbit onto here, because sometimes we can't start in that big of a chunk in the savings, right? So if you can allocate even 10% of your savings, keep it small. Even if it's just $10 a week, start building that and putting that into a savings so that you have that there. And at the end of the month, just start seeing how you feel, because the emotional tie to that, being able to save just that $10 a month is going to, or $10 a week, is really going to start making you build momentum and feel differently about how you're saving. And that's the biggest thing that we want to do. The other thing is thinking about the wants and where you can cut some of that stuff. So you'll see here that it's listed: gym memberships, subscription services, recreational activities, shopping sprees, dining out. Dining out is a big one. If y'all know me and you've been on my sessions, this one is the one that I like really focus in on, because even going through like the drive-through right now costs approximately $15 just for one meal. And being able to just maybe do some pre-prep, making sandwiches at home that you can just grab on the go, and saving yourself that $15 of eating out and putting that into a savings, that is going to create this new habit that you're going to start rolling with. And that's going to be where you're going to find some really big gratification. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I really can create an emergency savings. I've got this. I can start making cuts little by little. The 50% needs, those are the ones that are really hard to cut on, because those are going to be the ones that are usually a fixed one. It's not going to be a variable like most of our other things are, but there are some variables in there, and some of them are like the medical care. This is where it's unforeseen. This is what that emergency fund is for. Your utilities are going to be variables, but there's ways to make that just like be the same all the time. And I'll show you where those links live as well. So and I love that Cassandra dropped that in there. Your subscription services, when you start taking a look at how many things you are streaming, like what you've got on your actual bank statement, sometimes you're able to go, oh, I don't really need that. Or I could do with just one of those things. I can make that do. So the 50-30-20 rule is where you build a big foundation of what you're going to do with that money and you start naming those dollars, right? Each of them has a name, you know where they go, and now you're taking control, you're being empowered, and you can start building that emergency fund with more confidence. So the next thing we're going to take a look at, we'll go back to the dashboard and to your favorites, is the budgeting tool. The budgeting tool is where you get that truth serum, right? When you start doing a budget, if you've never done one before, this is a really important component to setting up your emergency fund, because if you don't know where your dollars are going, there's no way for you to begin to save those. So when you do a budget, I always tell people do an estimation, because first of all, if you just estimate what you've got going on, you get a better perspective when you actually sit down with your bank statement and you look at what you've estimated and what's really there. You go, wow, either I did a great job, I knew exactly where my money was going, or most often it's like, holy smokes, I had no idea. And we all know it costs a lot to live. So that in general is just like the reality. But having this be a truthful North Star for you is going to be a game changer. And I did just like some mock numbers in here so you could get a better idea of the budgeting tool and how it works for you. You can either type in your numbers here, you can use the slide, which is kind of fun. You can edit this, and so you can name your income. You can take it away if it's not it's not even a valid thing, so remove it. You can add anything here. You can reach out to us if you need to have any additional banking solutions. So this budgeting tool is going to come in really handy. That's why we favorited it, okay? It does a great job of being very robust. So be honest, okay? Be honest, be honest, be honest. Can't say that enough. Really figure out, like, if you're stopping for coffee and it's, you know, a couple, like $4, make sure you add that in there. You need to make sure that you're accounting for every single dollar. Now I put this back to what I had before because it's going to play a role in what we're doing later in the actual course. So I want to have these numbers that I've already mocked up in here. Okay. The next thing that we're going to take a look at, we'll go back to our dashboard and to our favorites, is our money personality. Now this I want you to take later because it is a 5-minute quiz. So I'm just going to pull it up and show you. All right. But you're going to get your analysis. And with this, it's going to tell you the psychology, the way that you think about money and the why, and the decisions that you're making. So if you have other people in your household that are contributing to your finances, make sure that they set up their own login and take this, because this really does give you the piece of cultivating some different conversations, because typically there's a spender, typically there's a saver. You probably already know who you are. But what it does is it gives you a little bit more accountability. And then it also gives you the ability to have conversations with the other person and grant each other some grace to try to find a way to get to your end goals. Okay. So I'm going to use the example here, and Ashley's on, and her and I kind of partner together with this because when we're talking to people, we're pretty transparent. We share that her and I are impulse spenders. But what the money personality does, it gets behind this a little bit more. So if you know what kind of spender, saver, whatever it is that you are, it tells you in depth, like the differences. So for example, Ash is more, her impulse buying is more like with ads that are popping up while she's maybe on social media or just doing a search on, you know, the internet. And so it gave her the advice to wait 24 hours before she purchases that. So she can put it in her cart, right? But just think about it for 24 hours instead of going ahead and pulling that plug, and just buying it, because it's super easy, right? You just you're just pushing buttons. And as my husband likes to say, we all are button pushers. So hope you guys get a laugh out of that. And then for me, I am an impulse buyer, but mine's more in the grocery store. So for me, it's important for me to either really stick to my list or I just go ahead and shop online and then I pay the $2 to just go pick it up. So I'm not even going into the store. So um, well, just order it for me. I love that, Cassandra. Her toddler tells her, just order it. It's because they think there's a limitless amount of money when you have a card in your hand, or you're just poking buttons on your phone. I think that sometimes too. So guilty as charged, but it gives you the insight to know what kind of personality you have and how you can take those small steps to be accountable for that. And sometimes that's all we need is just that little bit of, hey, how could we do this a little bit differently? Just a bite-sized change. So that's why money personality is important. So make sure you go back and take that and have everyone else in your family take it as well, because it's kind of fun to know. Now we're going to take a look at the emergency savings tool. So for that one, we're going to go here, emergency fund. And this shows you how to prepare your emergency fund. Now don't freak out because this somehow did not the number I wanted. I don't have $22,000 worth of monthly expenses. I promise you, I would never be able to, I'd be living on the street. So we're going to change this to a more realistic number. Okay. So once you see I've got $5,000 monthly expenses, I want my funds to last for 6 months. So we're going to take the 5 times 6, simple math here. And I'm saying that I maybe can contribute $500 per month. So what that does is it starts showing me a breakdown of how many years it's going to take me to get to where I can get that full $30,000 into a savings so I have an emergency fund built. All right. So right now it's showing me at a 5-year time frame. All right. Your homework is you need to find out what your monthly expenses are. How are you going to do that? Use your budgeting tool. Okay. You are going to calculate on your own, in your own time, how much money you need to build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Okay. So that's your homework. I want you guys to have a realistic idea of where you're at. Now, the other part of that is, even though it's telling me it's projecting me out 5 years to make this happen, there are going to be other things that I can use that I could leverage. Say if I get tax refund money. Okay, well, instead of going out and buying something with that, I'm at least going to make an effort to put half of that or the whole thing into my emergency fund savings. Okay, so start with these fundamentals. This is where it's going to get you to that next step. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and go back up to our dashboard. And this is where you guys get to just listen. I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to jump into the actual course of setting up an emergency fund. Okay. So you've got your ideas now. You've got the 50-30-20 rule. You know where your budgeting tool is, and you've got your homework to figure out your 3 to 6 months and what your emergency savings should equal with those parameters. All right. So now we're going to jump in here and just watch a couple of videos and get a little bit more content about how to build an emergency fund. Okay. So we're going to go in lesson 1. What is an emergency fund? Let's get some definitions around that, because sometimes some of us have a hard time differentiating between emergency and non-emergency, right? So let's take a look at this.
Saving money is an important financial habit. Building an emergency fund is a valuable way to get into the habit while also giving yourself some extra financial security. An emergency fund is an account where you set money aside to cover unexpected expenses. If you're just starting out, a healthy emergency fund might contain $500 to $1,000, though that amount may differ depending on your unique situation. Later on, experts recommend saving up enough to cover at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Having a fully stocked emergency fund is so important because you never know what's coming next in life. Hopefully, you won't need to use your emergency fund for a long time, but having plenty of extra cash saved up can really come in handy if you find yourself facing unexpected medical bills or costly home or car repairs. Drawing on emergency savings can save you from having to take out a loan or rack up credit card debt to cover those pesky surprise costs. An emergency fund is different from a regular savings account, which you might use to save up for a family vacation or a new car. Ideally, an emergency fund should be kept in an account that is totally separate from other accounts, and it should only be used to cover truly unanticipated emergency expenses. Even if you're on a tight budget at the moment, it's still possible to put some money aside each month for emergencies. You never know, you just might need it someday soon.
Okay, so the biggest tip there is to make sure that you have your emergency fund, I call them a freedom fund, because it makes me feel a little bit more free. But making sure that that freedom fund, your emergency savings fund, is separate from your regular savings. And some of the banks have it now where you can even like hide that emergency savings from yourself so you're not seeing it every time you pull up all of your accounts, which is helpful because then it's out of sight, out of mind. And you can obviously set things up on a direct deposit or transfer so that you're not even seeing it. And once you start living without it, trust me, you can do it. You find a way to live without it. Okay. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the in case of emergencies. Right here, this is a good projection. So this is where we get into that infographic stuff, right? And here's where you get, I love this, the value of an emergency fund. It's going to tell us a story here. So I am going to read it. I was a teacher, so yes, I'm going to read it to y'all. Most people don't like to imagine the worst case scenario, let alone plan for it, because it just makes us stressed out. But if we follow this story about Jalen and Soraya, neighbors who commute together to the same job to learn the value of an emergency fund at the same time. So when their employer underwent layoffs, Jalen and Soraya were let go. Soraya was worried because she had just spent her rainy day savings on a vacation, which now we know we don't do that. That doesn't qualify as an emergency. By contrast, Jalen had $5,000 tucked away. So I'm guessing, like for me, that's 1 month of my savings. It's not a 3-month or a 6-month. That's just 1 month. Okay, let's take that into reality. Soraya's debt, she had zero debt, but she did not have any savings. Okay, it's not telling us that Jalen has any debt. And we can talk a little bit about that and how that works, because if you have credit cards that have high interest, you should be paying that off before you start setting an emergency savings aside, because you need to clear that debt because you're already paying interest and fees on that, and that is going to eat you up. Get rid of that first. Okay, so 1 month later, we see Jalen and Soraya found job hunting to be an ongoing process. Both remained unemployed for a month. So a month later, Jalen dipped into his emergency savings to pay $1,200 worth of monthly bills, while Soraya paid the same with a credit card. Okay, so now what we're looking at is Jalen's savings is depleted a little bit, but now Soraya's in debt. Okay, 2 months from being laid off. Both have interviews lined up. Hooray, this is awesome. But Jalen and Soraya each decided to spend $300 on new business attire and career coaching sessions. Probably good investments. Jalen uses his emergency fund while Soraya uses her credit card. And this is gaining her 23% interest since last month. So she's already starting to really set the tone for why it's important to have that emergency fund. Okay, we can't always rely on credit cards. Sometimes we have to, but in this case, this is what we're seeing. Both interviews went well. No word yet. At the end of the month, Jalen pulls another $1,200 for bills from his savings. Soraya chooses not to add to her credit card debt, so she borrows from a friend $1,300 to cover her bills, plus a minimum credit card payment of $100 because you don't want to keep building that, all right? That interest on there. So 3 months later, Jalen still has $2,300. All right, Jalen and Soraya both land jobs. Woohoo! They start next month. Jalen takes another $1,200 for bills from his emergency fund. Soraya takes a payday loan. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to talk about that too. And be wary, yes, 400% interest rate on payday loans. If you didn't know that, you're going to have a big aha moment today. She also borrows the rest from her mom, using $100 to pay her credit card minimum. All right, look at where we're at. Jalen's at $1,100 in his savings. Soraya's almost $5,000 in debt now. 5 months later, Jalen's at $1,300 and Soraya's still bumping that $5,000. And this is why. At last payday, Jalen is able to put $200 back into his emergency fund and building it up again. Soraya needs to pay her bills, payday loan, credit card, and debt to her friend and her mother. Her paycheck is not enough to cover it all. So she pays the payday loan off, which is smart, immediately, and puts the rest on her credit card. She's making a way. She's doing the best that she can. But this gives that eye-opening moment. All right, I need to have this emergency fund. How can I get it? Jalen's emergency fund continues to grow. Soraya is still in the hole, but has a plan to make a larger payment to her credit card to combat the effects of that compounding interest, knowing that in time she'll be able to pay off the full balance and hopefully her friend and her mom too. All right, so we see what happens here. This is why that emergency fund is so important. Even if it's a small amount, it's still going to save you a little bit in the long run. And it's scary when you look at that. I mean, it's scary for me when I was walking through this. I know at a point in time, I was on the opposite end of that. I was in Soraya's shoes and I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get out of this. And it took me a while. So if you're in that position, just know that we're going to give you those bite-sized steps today to make that change. Okay. So now we're going to jump to what should emergency funds look like? It's going to look different for everybody, but let's watch this video and see what they've got to add to this foundation.
There's no one right way to build an emergency fund. Instead, it's best to figure out what makes the most sense for you and your unique financial situation. When you're beginning to save, you'll want to start small so it doesn't feel like an enormous task, and hopefully, over time, your contributions will begin to grow. You can start by setting a small goal, such as a few dollars per week, to get you into the habit of saving. Once you've got some momentum, make it a goal to have a few $100s saved. After you are able to save a few $100s, your next goal will be to have enough money saved to cover 1 month's worth of expenses. You'll eventually want to build up enough savings to cover 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses, which is what most experts recommend having for a fully funded emergency fund. As you build your emergency fund, it's a good idea to keep your contributions in a separate savings account solely dedicated to your fund. Some people even keep their emergency fund in a different bank than their regular accounts to reduce the temptation to take money out of the account. As your emergency fund grows, you might be interested in moving it from a basic savings account to a money market or high-yield savings account. Make sure that your savings stay liquid so that you can have access to your emergency savings at any time. Basic savings accounts tend to offer low interest rates, which means your savings still earn interest in these accounts, but the interest accrual could be as low as pennies per year. On the other hand, money market and high-yield savings accounts tend to earn higher interest rates. Keeping an emergency fund in one of these accounts instead of a basic savings account will put your money to work and help you grow your savings faster. Often these accounts have minimum balance requirements, so be sure to check with your financial institution. So you see, an emergency fund can look very different depending on how much you want to have saved and what type of account you're keeping it in. Whatever stage of saving you're at, the best emergency fund is the one you're making regular contributions to.
All right, so start small. All right. She talked about just $1 to $2 a week. That is a great place to start. If there's something that you buy out on a regular basis, just stop buying it one time a week and put that money into a savings. One of the things that you can do also is with banks, they have like the save your change thing where you can round up every time you swipe your debit card. Any of that additional change to round it up to the flat dollar, they will take that change and put it into whatever account of your choice. So remember that it's like the change in the jar at home, but just on an electronic measure. So do something like that as well, because I think you'd be surprised by the end of the week what you would have in that savings built up as well, just based on doing grocery shopping and buying fuel, because very seldom does it ever end up on a flat dollar. I mean, that's like every once in a while that happens and you're like, oh, wow. But typically it's falling somewhere short of that round up dollar, and just have it rounded up and just see what happens. I promise. The next thing we're going to take a look at is part of that. I just touched on how to contribute to an emergency fund. So we'll watch this quick video and then we're going to start talking about how to spend less, how to save extra income, selling unused items, earn more money, and then where to shop first. Okay, so some tips and tricks.
Having fully funded emergency savings can help you cover unexpected expenses when they arise. But how do you get from opening an emergency savings account to having a few months of expenses saved up? Sticking to a plan and using smart savings strategies can take you from having zero savings to having a healthy fund for a rainy day. Making a savings plan and sticking to it will ensure that you reach your goal of a fully funded emergency savings account. What your savings plan will look like is entirely up to you and your unique situation. Perhaps you decide to save a set amount each month, or if your income is variable, you might save a set percentage of your take-home monthly pay. You could also add the contributions to your emergency fund to your monthly budget. Either way, commit to making regular deposits in your emergency fund, and you'll be amazed by how quickly it can grow. To make saving easy, you might also look into ways to save automatically. For example, check to see if they offer any services that can help you save. Some will keep the change from transactions by automatically rounding your purchases to the next dollar and depositing the change into your savings account. They might also allow you to set up automatic deposits, so you don't have to worry about remembering to transfer money into your emergency fund each month. And your employer also might allow you to automatically deposit a portion of your paycheck into your savings each pay period, so you don't have to worry about spending it. If you're looking for ways to kickstart your savings habit, you might consider trying a savings challenge. Maybe you save an increasing amount each week until you reach a milestone in your account, or commit to making daily deposits. Or maybe you draw inspiration from a savings challenge you find online and create your own. The options are endless. At the end of the day, the best savings plan or strategy is one you can stick to. Set attainable goals for yourself and stay with your plan. The more you save, the easier it will get. Plus, you'll have the security of knowing you have a healthy fund saved up to handle life's big surprises.
Okay, start small. All right, start small. That's where we want to be. We want to take a quick look at just these quick ways, these tips and tricks, and you can find them in here on your course. So when you go back and take it in its entirety, then you'll be able to take a closer look at this as well. So spend less. Okay, duh. We know that. However, what do we spend less on? The variables. groceries, entertainment, subscription, streaming apps, okay? Those are all places that you can take a look and make that small cut, even if it's just a few dollars, all right? So take a look at those. Save your extra income. Okay, that's what we were talking about, the save your change. Get that over to your bank to go ahead and make that deposit and put it into a different account. Additionally, if you have tax refund money, put it in there as well. Some of the stuff that talks about is selling unused items. So garage sales, Facebook Marketplace, other apps to post and sell items that you currently have that you're not using. Leverage that. Take all of that and put it into a savings. Earn more money. That's easier said than done, right? But you could pick up like seasonal side gigs, such as maybe wrapping Christmas presents, detailing cars, baking goods and selling those, swim lessons, music lessons. Find your thing and make some side money. If you need to do that instead of going out and getting a whole nother job, side gigs work for you when you have the time. So think about that. The other thing I want to point out is shop first at garage sales and thrift stores. Obviously, Facebook Marketplace is an ongoing garage sale, every day. So take a look at those places first before you go out and try to buy something new, because oftentimes you can find something that's either spot on for what you want or relatively close, and you're good to go. So make sure that you're building that instead of just going to go buy something new right off the bat. All right, so for time's sake, we are at 12:53. So if you have questions, I want you to be popping those into the chat. Cassandra, did I miss any questions throughout the chat?
No questions.
Okay. So if you guys have questions, pop them into the chat now. The other thing I want you to do is if there's any topic matter, pardon me, that I can search for you right quick while we're on the platform, pop that into the chat and I'll pull up whatever you're wanting to look at as well. Otherwise, I am going to cover a few more of those favorites that we did earlier in the session. Hong knows I can use up the time. Independent delivery service like Under Eats. Oh, yes. And DoorDash. Yes. Take a look at that. That is a great little tip. And Green put that in there. Wonderful. Okay. So, Carolyn, we will be sending out a recording. So you're good.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. Professional resume writing. Genius. Yes. Something you can do on your own time. I love that. And y'all, I will show you, you can look for like side gigs in here and it's actually going to show you, I just done side hustle. It likes hustle. I kind of like hustle too. All right. Let's see here. I know it's in here, y'all. I probably just am typing too fast here with all the things. There we go. All right. Let me find it. I promise it's in here. We had a whole session. We had a whole webinar on it. Well, it does have some of the things in here. There's actually, though, I promise there's a webinar on it. So if you guys are curious about looking up some side hustles, go in here and look under your webinars tab, and I'll bet you it'll populate it for you. Okay. Tutoring. I like that too. All right, I'm going to go back to my favorites, and I want to show you guys a couple of things here. We have time. I want to show you the when money is tight, the survival budget. This is going to help you start building that emergency fund too, because you get a better look at maybe where you're setting financially. Like, are you in the survival mode? Are you in the stability mode? Are you where you can do some growth? All right. So take a look at that, and it's going to have you go back and identify your income. What do we use for that, guys? Put it in the chat. What tool do we use? Identify your essential spending. Okay, so that's going to be your fixed for the most part, or not fixed, but the necessities. Your shelter, so your rent, mortgage, food, utilities, medical, and transportation. Those are going to be things that you have to take care of. So you're 50% to your needs, 30% to your wants, 20% to savings. Okay. Construct your budget. This gives you a little bit of an outline on budgeting. And want to make sure that you can see that they've even included like the SNAP in here. If somebody's having additional support that they are getting, make sure you're including all of your support measures, including all of your expenses. All right. And what can you do if your income does not cover this stuff? So here are your links. Now, this is fantastic because let's take a variable like your utilities. Okay, they fluctuate monthly, right? And if it would help you to have those on a fixed monthly rate, then you can come in here into your My Milestones. All right, it's going to take you straight to this utility shutoff protection. You can click on that. And it's going to take you right to the link. So now, again, we want to go back and say, this is going to take you to the reputable places. You don't have to worry if you're going to be on the right website or if you're getting into a scam situation. This takes you to the exact space that you're supposed to be in. Help with your energy bills, or look at this, help paying for your phone and internet service. I didn't even know that that was a thing before I got in here and started learning. So when you click on these, it's going to take you to the next page, which is going to show you if you're eligible for this. All right. And then when you want to find help, you click on that, but I'm firewalled inside Commerce, so it doesn't let me go that far. But you all get the idea. So you can set this up to have it connect you to your local energy supplier, and they will set up this protection shutoff plan so that you have a flat rate for your utilities all throughout the year. And now you can take maybe what you would have had to spend additionally on that and stick that into your emergency savings. So little tips and tricks like that. Find a local health center. So you're going to get, usually you'll get free or no cost, or free to little cost care when you do a local health center. But the other tip I want to tell you is that when you are getting a medical bill, you can call the hospital billing and you can request a discount. You can also request to say, I have this much, can that clear the bill and I be done? So know that you have some of these tools at hand that will help you to manage and get an emergency fund set up. The last thing is if you do have a medical bill, set it up on a payment plan. Do not use a credit card to pay that off. They don't charge interest at the hospital. You can just set up a small payment and pay that for as long as it takes with no interest applying to that, so that it doesn't have to break your budget or dip into your emergency savings. Okay, so those are some of your tips and tricks. We are at time. I will be sending this all to Hong. You guys are so awesome. I love WGU community. Thank you all for showing up today. And look for our next session. It's going to be on planning for retirement, which will be wonderful next month. And we will have what we call a line of business specialist joining us then. And that means that you have a real financial assistant on that's going to be able to answer some questions for you. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you, Hong.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Stacy. We'll go ahead and conclude today's session. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We hope that you walked away with some helpful and realistic strategy on building your emergency fund. Like Stacey mentioned, you can catch the next one. We'll post it on Handshake, so make sure you register and then register on the Zoom as well so that you get the invite for the Zoom session. This session was recorded, so we'll send that out as soon as it's ready. Along with that, we do have a couple of quick surveys, and your feedback helps us to continue to bring great sessions like these to the WGU community. So let us know if you enjoyed today's session, and then also if you have any upcoming topics that you'd like to see. We do read those surveys, and we continue to plan out different series based on your feedback. So take a minute to fill that out for us. And then, of course, we'd like to extend our biggest WGU thank you to Stacy for leading today's session. You always bring such great energy and such insightful practical tips. I love the way that you break it down and all the personal examples that you share that you use to kind of work through these different financial tips and tricks. So thank you so much, Stacy. We always so much appreciate your time and your energy. And then of course, Cassandra and Ashley for helping out in the chat. As a reminder, we'll send that recording out. If you do have questions later on, you can always email us as well. We'll make sure to get an answer back to you. But other than that, we look forward to seeing you at the next session next month. We hope you have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.